Good morning. It's good to be here. Jono's just getting my PowerPoint up. We're going to start by just giving thanks for strengths in yourself or someone else. So this morning I was just looking around and I'm thankful for Graham's pastoral heart. I'm thankful for Daniel's humility. I'm thankful for Alex's ability to think outside the square. Anyone else got anything they would like to say, a strength in someone else or in themselves that they're thankful for this morning? Carolyn?
I'm thankful for Jeremy and Jordan and for the trip that God's had us on waiting for them, because I really believe that they're the ones that he wanted here.
Thank you. Thank you for their gifts of leadership.
I'd like to thank my son Mark, who brought me to Jesus.
Yay. Any other strengths you're thankful for this morning? Philip?
I thank the Lord I still got a job. Lifestyle.
Yeah, you're thankful that you can work. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thankful for Michael's dedication to prayer.
I'm thankful for the home group leaders who, in this very difficult time, with their pastoral hearts, have managed, I think, to help hold this church together.
Thanks, Sylvia. All right, we're going to come back to that. But that was nice to hear, wasn't it? So this morning, are you ready? We're going to go on a little bit of a trip. And we're going to look at the parable of the talents. So I'm just going to read it for you first from Matthew. So it's Matthew 25, 14 to 30. Okay, again, here is what the kingdom of heaven will be like. This is Jesus talking. A man was going on a journey. He sent for his servants and put them in charge of his money. He gave 5 bags of gold to one. He gave 2 bags of gold to another, and he gave 1 bag to the third. The man gave each servant the amount of money he knew the servant could take care of. Then he went on his journey. The servant who had received 5 bags of gold went at once and put his money to work. He earned 5 bags more. The one with the 2 bags of gold earned 2 bags more. But the man who had received 1 bag went and dug a hole in the ground. He hid his master's money in it. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they'd used his money. The man who had received the 5 bags of gold brought the other 5. "Master," he said, "you trusted me with 5 bags of gold. See, I've earned 5 more." The master was full of praise. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I'll give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." The man with the 2 bags of gold also came. "Master," he said, "you trusted me with 2 bags of gold. See, I have earned 2 more." The master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You've been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I'll give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." Then the man who'd received 1 bag of gold came. "Master," he said, "I knew that you're a hard man. You harvest where you haven't planted. You gather crops where you haven't scattered seed. So I was afraid, and I went out and hid your gold in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you." The master replied, "You evil, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I have not planted. You knew that I gather crops where I haven't scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money in the bank. When I returned, I would have received it back with interest." Then he ordered, "Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with 10 bags of gold. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Throw that worthless servant outside. There in the darkness, people will weep and grind their teeth." We're going to watch an animation of it now, and I want you to think about what stands out to you in that reading and in the animation. Thanks, Jono. So, can I hear some thoughts? What's one thing that stood out to you, either from the reading or the animation? Sometimes it's good to look at it in a different way, isn't it? It was clever. Wendy. The third chap didn't even know his master. Yeah, thanks.
The disappointment in the master.
The disappointment in the master's face. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I noticed that when he came in with the big treasure chest, he was all happy, and then he just starts opening up the other ones, and then he's like...
Then the master got mad, didn't he? Yeah, you noticed the master getting mad. Yeah. Thanks.
The master assessed each person and gave them what
Yeah.
they were capable of.
The master assessed each one and gave them what they were capable of. Yeah, interesting. Okay, so let's backstep and just make sure that we can get what does this story mean? Because Jesus obviously told it for a reason. So, who do the servants represent? People, us, yes. Who does the master represent? God, Jesus. And what does the money, the bag of gold, represent? Our talents, our abilities, our resources. Okay, so why didn't the servants get given an equal amount? Anyone got a thought for that one?
Because we ain't all got the same talents.
We have not all got the same talents. Thank you, Graham. And you know what? To our way of thinking, that's not fair, is it? No. It doesn't worry you. Well, some of us feel, that's not fair. But God's way isn't like our way, is it? And He's made us all different. All different. And I think Rod pointed it out. In verse 15, it says, the man gave each servant the amount of money he knew the servant could take care of. God knows each one of us intimately. That's pretty cool. He knows us better than we know ourselves. This is why we have different talents, different things to handle. And God does have a fairness that we understand a little bit more, doesn't He? Because there's also this bit in the Bible from Luke 12. Jesus said, when someone has been given much, much will be required in return. And when someone has been entrusted with much, even more will be required. So if you've been given a lot, God expects a lot. Okay, so what were the first two servants praised for? Carolyn? Being good and faithful. Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount. Interesting, isn't it? So God is looking for us to be faithful with what He gives us. Both the two servants, the one that got the 5 and the one that got the 2, they got told exactly the same thing. Exactly, word for word. Well done. You've been faithful. So it didn't matter that they had different amounts. What mattered was what they did with it, wasn't it? All right. So was the first servant seen as better than the second servant? No. In God's eyes, no, one is not better than the other. In human eyes, sometimes we think the first one's better than the second one. That is not God's way of looking at things. He sees them as the same. So where did the third servant go wrong? Anyone gonna? Let someone else. Yeah, let's have someone else. What do you reckon?
So everyone else was responsible enough and they put their money into another thing so they could get more money out of it, but the last servant didn't think of that. He just was like, oh, they got more than me.
Yes, you so have it. He was looking at the others and going, I'm not good enough. This is, look at this. Look what I've got, and it's bad. And haven't we all been there at some point in our lives? We look at what God's given us, and it seems not enough, or it seems too hard, or it seems unfair. And doesn't it make sense that when we're looking at that with that attitude, we start thinking, God's not good. He doesn't really love me. He's not trustworthy. And then we start fearing, don't we? We start becoming afraid. And that's what the third servant did. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man. You harvest where you haven't planted. You gather crops where you haven't scattered seed. So I was afraid. He was looking at the negatives. He was looking at what was in front of him that seemed not enough, too hard. And he stopped trusting and he became afraid. And I don't know about you, but I've definitely had times in my life when that was more my attitude. I remember distinctly the first funeral I went to where I was actually jealous of the person who died. And I know that's out there. And I can now go to funerals and not feel jealous of the person who died. But there was a bit in my life when that's how I felt. So, how can we not be like the third guy? Because we don't want to stay there. Even if we are there at the moment, we don't have to stay there. I think it's about where you focus. When things are hard, when you don't feel like what God's given you is enough, or it feels too difficult, when you can't see God's goodness in front of you, which, hello, in this world happens, doesn't it? When we can't see it, we need to remember. And that's what this is about, isn't it? We need to shift our focus of what we see in front of us, and we need to remember and we need to trust that God is who he says he is, that he does love us, that he does care and he is powerful. And even when there's nothing else to show you that, we can always go back to the cross, can't we? And how can you look at that? We can't. You can never look back at Jesus and think, oh, God doesn't love. You know? When you really look at Jesus and go, okay, he came from heaven to earth for me? Whoa. Whoa. He chose to leave perfection to enter this world? Yeah, he's got to love me. And not only that, he chose to take all my sicknesses and sin on him and deal with it and make a way that I don't have to stay here, that I can have relationship, that I can live life with him, starting now, going forever. Yeah, when you look at that, that helps your trust to go up again, doesn't it? And there are times when that's all we can look at. We're going to do that now, but we're just going to listen to a song first. So don't start crackling yet. So just think about Jesus and what he's done.
When I survey the wondrous cross on which the Prince of Glory died, my richest gain I count but loss, and pour contempt on all my pride. Forbid it, Lord, that I should boast, save in the death of Christ my God. All the vain things that charm me most, I sacrifice them to his blood. See from his head, his hands, his feet, sorrow and love flow mingled down. Did there such love and sorrow meet, or thorns compose so rich a crown? Where the whole realm of nature mine, that were an offering far too small, love so amazing, so divine, demands my soul, my life, my all.
Jesus took the bread and he broke it and he said, "Do this in remembrance of me." And he took the cup after supper, and he said, "This cup represents my blood. Let's drink and remember."
When I
So what does God want us to do with what he gives us? He wants us to use it, doesn't he? But how? How does God want us to use all the things he's given us? I'm going to give you a hint of how I think he wants us to use it. What did Jesus say were the two most important commandments? Who? Love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your strength and all your mind, and you guys are pretty good. Love God, love people. That's what we're supposed to be, a people of love, hey? So you already know. Teacher, what's the most important commandment in the law? Jesus answered, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. This is the first and most important commandment. The second most important commandment is like this one, and it is love others as much as you love yourself. All the laws of Moses are based on these two commandments. So my suggestion to you today is that God wants us to use everything we've got to love. And this is just another, so it's not just me talking today, another dude. I think he says it well. Thanks, Jono.
Interesting point, because that's how life works. You see, it's not about where you start. It's about use. It's about whether you use what you got. Everybody's going to start in different places according to ability. That's how it works. Life isn't fair in that way. Bottom line, the Lord, the Master, didn't make it about competition. He didn't say, you with 5 and you with 2, you guys battle against each other. He said the same thing to both of them. No matter where you were when you started, if you took those talents and put them into the world and gave your spirit, then he said, thou good and faithful servant, I will make thee ruler over many because you honored who you were. How many of us sit on our talents, bury our talents in the ground because we wish that we were born into a rich family. We wish that our dad wasn't on drugs. We wish that we weren't raped when we were 7. We wish. None of that matters. Those are the cards you were dealt. And if you get the cards and use the cards properly, oh my God, you shall be ruler over many. When we focus on what we do have and we use it, that's the lesson here, is use. If you don't use it, you lose it. Bottom line, it's like a muscle. It will atrophy. If I don't use this muscle, it will die. We have to honor where we are in life. We came here for specific reasons. And it's on you to get out of your way, to clear all the muck and the mire to become you. And when you are you, you get to serve. We have story after story after story of people who were born into pure dirt poverty. People like Nelson Mandela, Bishop Tutu, people like Mother Teresa. There's all kinds of people. It didn't matter where they started. What mattered is whether they used what they had. If you get nothing else out of this, take what you got and love people to the best of your ability. Take what you got and serve the planet.
All right. So I have some people who are going to help me. Guys, if you've got the sheets. Everyone is going to get a sheet. Because, you know, you come to church to do a sheet. So these guys are coming around with the piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. And I want you to personalise it. I've given you some options on the sheet that you could just circle if you want to, but there's also blanks that you can fill in. But I want you to think, what have I got? What's God given me at the moment? So we're going to, do something that we don't often do in the morning service, but we usually do in the night gathering, is just get into a small group. So you're going to move your seat, probably, a little bit. And in the night gathering, I always suggest that families split up. But hey, if you're not comfortable with that, that's all right. And don't go in a group more than 4 because it's too hard to hear and too hard to talk. But if you want to get in a group, if you just want to be a 2, that's okay. And just if you're happy to share something from your sheet, that's fine. But if you're happy to pray with someone else in your group, or if someone in the group can pray for each other, that we will show love this week in that way. That this won't be just something we say, but we'll be people who do it. Yeah. So just encourage you to talk to the person next to you or move your seat so that you're talking to someone a bit different, maybe someone not in your family. And look out for the people who haven't got someone sitting next to them. And we'll just spend probably 5 minutes. 5 minutes